So Dennis, back in the day, if you were living in a small town, say somewhere in Midwest, and you had never really traveled, you'd think the people there are all the people that are there. And if you found love, if you went to a relationship, and you would say, hey, you know what, this is the best I can do, man. Even if that relationship was good or bad, you would say, stick with it, because where else would I go? Who else would I find? But suddenly, with internet and things like Tinder, Facebook, all the other ways of networking, somebody sitting in Oregon in Portland can now connect to somebody sitting in Russia, and not just mail a bride, but you can actually connect and have conversations, see pictures, have live video calls, and all kinds of good stuff. So I think people now think that they have many more options, and as a result, if they're in a fix, they are quicker to break their existing relationship, one, or two, they feel, hey, you know what, I can just do better. Even if it's a good relationship, but they think, I can do better. The third problem is, people who are in relationships feel, I can now go and discover the world, I can now travel, I can find somebody from somewhere else. There's always a charm in finding somebody from a completely different culture, different world, and the prospect of getting out of your comfort.
Right.
And lastly, the other effect of the technology is that now there's much more opportunity to cheat. I'm not endorsing it. I'm not sanctifying it or justifying it. All I'm saying is there's more of an opportunity to cheat. Back in the day, if you went to town, you'd be stuck in your town, and you wouldn't do anything in your town for the risk of getting caught. Now suddenly you say, hey, you know what? I live in New Jersey, Tenafly, New Jersey, and now suddenly I can have a relationship. I can find somebody, say in Pittsburgh, and commute and have a quick thing. And this whole Airbnb, Expedia, booking hotels, it's all become so much more convenient. As a result, I think the internet is breaking marriages and relationships, but not in a bad way. Here's the spanner. Not in a bad way, I think in a good way.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, I think I have to agree and disagree. I mean, I think I'm kind of in the middle on this, where I think what the internet has done, the internet itself is not breaking marriages. What it is we are more aware of options and choices. Where I see the negative of this, listen, I mean, I've been pretty open about my feelings regarding marriage. That marriages come and go. I mean, they just do. A lot of times we can't really get to know somebody. Many cultures, people can't live together until they're married, and then once you live together, that you end up finding out, like, man, I didn't know this person was going to punch me in the face all the time. There's things that you can end up finding out, or I thought that my spouse was going to be like faithful to me. I had no idea my wife was going to have like 5 lovers. So I think what it is, I mean, it's always the guy that gets blamed for that, right? So let's flip the script a little.
Gender equality, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I think this is just about that we are seeing that it's more available, but I think where the real downside in this happens is it's more than just leaving a relationship and going towards another. It creates this whole situation where we're constantly comparing and contrasting our life compared to what others are. I mean, I have people call me, I'll get these instant messages, especially after like a broadcast. They're like, thank you for what you said. Like, you just have this wonderful marriage, your family's so awesome and all of that. And it's kind of like, at the same time, what you don't know is that there's a whole big like shit show going on in my head all the time that like April knows about it because she's lived with me forever. I think that what we compare and contrast our life, but what we're not necessarily realistic with it. And to my point, I have a few of friends of mine. They're female. They're very close friends of mine to where they can say this stuff to me, and they've straight up said to me, they're like, Dennis, the most attractive thing about you. I'm like, what's my beard, my muscles? I mean, I put a lot of time and effort into my appearance, so I'm expecting to be complimented. I'm like, well, tell me, what's the most attractive thing about me? They're like, the way that you interact with April. That's what makes you attractive. And so even though like I'm like, well, wait a minute, like I want you to like me for me and so forth. And so I think what happens is we create these expectations that are not very realistic. I personally think that there is too much emphasis put on love. I do. I think there's too much emphasis put on love. Love is fleeting. Love is fleeting. Love can be built. Love can grow. But respect is respect. Paying attention to your spouse, paying attention to your partner, and so forth. Go ahead.
Also, love can move on. But with that said, interesting point you raised, which I had missed. It's not just creating opportunity and giving more options, but it's also creating discontentment. And I fully agree with you. That is a problem because we are now fantasizing or assuming, somebody could be just really taking us for a ride. By making us up. It's so easy to be somebody else on the internet. So for example, I am in a perfectly good marriage, but I find somebody on, say, chat, Twitter, Facebook, somewhere, and then I start communicating with them. And as a result, what happens is you start interacting, and they can pose to be completely different from what they are. Now, with my wife or my partner, whoever, I've already discovered the pros and cons of him or her, and now I understand what's going on. But suddenly this other person starts, this whole courtship period starts all over again, even if it's an affair. But they can promise you shit which they're not going to deliver. And once you actually hook up with them, this whole fantasy is going to collapse. But yes, in the meanwhile, there is severe discontentment, and that can screw up an existing relationship on a complete farce, a fantasy, not even a fantasy, a farce, a fraud, and not a winning fraud. There's always that honeymoon period. So you hook up with somebody new and there's this honeymoon period, and you're not really seeing each other with, waking up next to each other with morning breath, and you're not seeing each other in smelling each other's farts. So there's this whole honeymoon thing going on, and another problem, thank you for taking me towards the problems. One, if you have somebody in your proximity and you start hanging out with them, you see their physical attributes or your physical habits, and you're quite aware of how they eat, how they do this and how they do that. But in a virtual, which is on the side relationship, you're only seeing made up, even if it's 2 hours a day, that's very filtered and very glamorized version of it. I'm going to have to admit here that I have met people on the net, and I've tried to connect with them. I'm using my words safely because God knows what I'll be doing in 5 years, and this video could come back to bite me. So I tried to connect with them, and there were cases when somebody would actually travel from a different country to meet me. And when you see them on the net, you see them in a picture, it's a completely different world. When you see them face to face, like somebody's eating habit. I've had this situation where I met somebody for dinner, and suddenly, I can't even tell you. My footprint for the past 20 years has been Asia, and the Asian sensibilities are bizarre, man. I'm sorry, I'm going to name a few countries: Indonesia, Malaysia, all these countries. When they eat, it's like the whole tribe is eating, man. The food. I'm not saying all of them. Please forgive my Indonesian friends and Malaysian friends, but a lot of them are very, very different culturally from where we are. And you think, oh God, he's hot, he's smart, he's handsome, and suddenly you've got them in a restaurant across the table from you. It's like, whoa, man, that's not funny at all. So the fantasy can shatter, but in the meantime, it can screw up your existing situation.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to say, I think I'm going to take it from the opposite approach, and I think that the internet actually can help save marriages. In that, because you can get to know people. One, there's a few things, and it's kind of like this. It's kind of like I've said about this tattoo here. One, I would never do this again because one, I don't want to be branded, and that's how I've come to look at that, as I'm branded. I mean, we've been together forever, so like I don't see that changing, regardless of whether April and I stay together. Like, we're a part of each other's lives, a part of each other's experience, and so forth. But again, this isn't so much about like, oh, I just love my wife so much. It's also like a reminder to say, hey, you're going to lose half your shit if you don't take and like behave and treat her appropriately and so forth. So what I'm saying is I think that the internet can actually take and show us, we've talked about porn. I mean, what it can show us is like it can show, if you look at it from a perspective of, how can this be helpful? Well, I can tell you when I've seen stuff with pornography, I can assure you one of the things, I mean, it looks pretty cool, but I don't know anybody. Now, I don't know anybody in my life that thinks it's comfortable to stand there with a leg up above your head, right? While somebody else is manhandling you. So, like, I think that there's a very real side to this in that now what I can see is like, well, I'm glad. I'm glad I don't have to perform like a porn star. I'm glad I don't have to do that. The other thing is I'm glad that, man, I've got it really good. Because now I can go to the internet and go, because I'll tell you an experience. One of the you talk about different experiences and eating with people. When I've been in countries that eat with their hands, right? So countries that eat with their hands, like over here, we use a fork. We use utensils. And then when you go to do that, and then you're thinking, well, okay, well, wait a minute. How well did they wash their hands? I have to dip in the same bowl. And now we've got COVID. We've had the flu. We've had colds. So, I mean, these are the things that go through my mind. And it's like, man, I really like traveling, but I also like knowing that my food is clean. I also like knowing this. So I think in some ways, if we look at it with a different set of eyes, what we're able to do is go, man, I actually have it really, really good. I have it really, really good. Because truthfully, I mean, I say this in jest, but one of the reasons I would not want to get remarried or go down that road again is because like April understands my type of kink. She understands what I like to eat. She understands all of that. Why would I give that up to pursue something that I don't know. Nobody else has the ability to make somebody happy at all. We think that it's something is going to be happy or better. It's always that grass is always greener. The grass is always greener where you water it, not necessarily the other side of the fence.
Good one. The other man's wife is always greener. But you know what? Interesting point you raised, that she understands the kinks. There is discomfort, but you know where that is coming from? That is coming from being above 50. That's the switch that turns on at 50, where you're like, you know what, I really don't want to restart, man. I don't want to hit the restart button. At 40, 45, you're still willing to. Maybe at 50, you don't want to hit the restart. Now, interesting point you've raised that can save marriages. I fully agree with you. And even now, I get into conversations with strangers all the time, men and women. People message me from these shows. Otherwise, I get a lot of people, and I connect. And I talk for a while, just to understand people.
Yeah.
And another beautiful thing the internet is doing is that people drop their guard very quickly because they think they're talking to a stranger or somebody who's not really their sibling or friend or somebody not in the physical circle. So they take the risk of opening up. And you know what, dude? 90%, no, 90 is, I think 98% people out there are cuckoo. And you know what? They've all got baggage. And now they're cuckoo in their own way. They're cuckoo. And they're beautiful cuckoo for their cuckoo bird, the one that they've gotten their word.
Yeah.
I'm cuckoo for Bina. Bina's cuckoo for me. I mean, she's cuckoo, yes, but she's my cuckoo.
Right.
But the moment these people come in, I talk to them like, what the hell is going on with them, man? People have baggage, people have issues, people have screwed up relationships, people have strange history. And fortunately, in the past, again, now giving points again to the internet, in the past, by the time you find out people's idiosyncrasies, at times it's late because you've exposed yourself too much because the distance, lack of. Now you can chat somebody up 20 hours a day, man. You can see pictures, you can do videos, you can cyber stalk them, you can look at their Instagram, you can go back into their Twitter history, you can go look, and you can really see a lot of crap about people. And trust me, there are psychopaths out there, man. And I would say you're a psychopath, I'm a psychopath, but like you said, you're a good psychopath for April because you guys have kind of become psychopaths together.
Absolutely. She understands my kind of crazy.
She understands you're kind of crazy, physically, emotionally, mentally, in every form.
Yeah.
You guys have sort of become one. Same for me, Bina and I. I mean, slowly and gradually. Initially, it's like any two rocks with spikes. You put them in a tumbling jar, and there's going to be a lot of grinding and hurting. But with time, those spikes fall off.
Sure.
And then the machine becomes smooth. You start listening to the same kind of music, you start having the same at time the conversation dies, but that's not because you don't talk, it's because you guys are so much in sync what you talk about.
Right.
So it's not necessarily a bad thing, it's a good thing at times. So yes, internet can also save relationship because it shows you that what you have may not be the best thing, but it is one of the best things for you.
It's the best thing for me. Yeah, and that is very true. And it's interesting because and I've been pretty open about this in my private practice. 90% of my clients are female. And so, when even though we're talking about things in the context of work and professional development, personal life always gets brought in. It just does. And I'll end up getting some. It was a little bit strange. It was nice when this first started happening and I first became a psychologist many years ago and stuff. But now it's funny because I'll get text messages. Oh my gosh, your wife is so lucky. Oh my, I'll get these private messages. Your wife is so lucky. I wish I could find a guy like you and blah blah blah. And all I'm going to say is, you know what? Online, it's easy to be charming part-time. It's easy to be charming part-time and to be, charismatic and so forth. And what people don't realize is I'll get up and I'll go work a stage, for me, and people they're like, oh, you're such an extrovert. You know how to work a crowd. And yeah, I do know how to work a crowd. But what people don't know is before, I'm a bag of cats. Truthfully, for 24 or at least 12 hours before I take the stage, I'll throw up 5 or 6 times. I'll go and I'll do my event, and then I'll work the crowd for a couple of hours, and then afterwards, don't talk to me. Don't try to buy me a drink. Don't try to shake my hand. I literally go find a corner to crawl into and curl up in the fetal position because I'm just exhausted. So again, it's charismatic. It's be charming. It's easy to be charming when it's part-time. Live with me for 24 hours, and you will just see. I'm telling you, live with me for 24 hours. You don't even have to spend 10 minutes talking to April. Live with me for 24 hours, and I'll guarantee you'll take those text messages back.
Yeah.
So I think we create these illusions of reality that are not based. We just create these unrealistic expectations on other people. I would say the best thing about April and I, as we've gotten older together, is not that we've learned. It's not that we've learned this amazing communication. It's not that we've learned to respect each other more or anything. It's not even that we've learned to communicate on a deeper level. What's truly been amazing is we've learned to laugh. We've learned to laugh. We've learned to laugh stupidity off. We've learned to look at each other and go, can you believe that, dumbass? And instead of having to talk about everything, so it creates this sense of, it is comfort, but it's not just comfort. I know, and it's taken me even in our darkest days, I've always known she and I can kick ass way harder together than separately. I've always known that. So it's when you find that person, that's when things like the internet, I don't know. I don't need to talk to a lot of other people because I've made April my person. And I'm just going to come out and say, I know that we've looked at, during quarantine, the Tinder usage and amount of money and those types of platforms have really done well financially during the quarantine. Take the time in the quarantine to make your own relationship better. Stop worrying about trying to work through issues. Look at how you can laugh together. When you laugh together, it just makes challenges and problems just kind of melt away.
Okay, before I comment, I'd like to request people to please switch to YouTube because a lot of your comments they come like this. We don't know who you are, and also people joining in now on Facebook. You cannot rewind and you can't watch from the beginning. So I would suggest if you want, you can go back and watch on YouTube. Now, Dennis, let's go beyond people who are in relationships. Like in COVID, Tinder has shot up. It's probably people who are not in relationships. I think internet's doing another great service that now it is giving us. See, if in real life before the internet days, you could date one person. You could maybe go out with 2 or 3 people at the same time, but you couldn't sustain it. But now you could have endless conversations in parallel, in real time, with 50 people if you wanted. And A, you're increasing the number of your options. B, you are becoming much better at seeing through the facades. You're becoming much better at seeing through the crap that people send towards you, the polished and the made up crap that comes to you. Most interestingly, you can have a longer lasting communication where you can suss it out. You can gauge who's lying, who's not lying, who's cuckoo, and just in conversation, you interact so much. I mean, if you're dating somebody in the physical world, you're busy all day, you're working, you maybe go out 2 or 3 times a week. That's not really much exposure. Again, you have your best performance on those 2-hour or 3-hour dates. But if you are really constantly chatting away, looking at each other's Facebook, these whole facades shatter very quickly. So the chances of these cyber and virtual relationships crashing is much higher. And I don't think we should see that in a bad light, because somebody would say, oh, check this girl out, man. She's talking to 50 guys and she just moved from one guy to the other. I think that's a good thing. Instead of actually hooking up, instead of actually going out to date, instead of actually getting engaged, instead of actually getting married to people, you're just having this introduction. And what's beautiful is you're not stuck with people in your street. You can now talk to the whole world. So the competition is much tougher. You know what? If I'm talking to a chick in my neighborhood, I'm also talking to somebody sitting in Finland, and that's a completely different level of exposure. So now the whole information and knowledge and exposure, it's opening a brand new phenomenal world.
And I'm going to just say, I think everybody should be mandated to work as a marriage and family relationship therapist or psychologist for at least a year before they get married. Because I'm telling you, when you look at somebody, I just had this yesterday. I'm video chatting with somebody, and I've seen this person in person before. This individual in person, it's a female, and this is a very attractive female, and then they talk. And so what I can tell you in dealing with people is just that, we all have things we don't want publicized. We all have things that we try to keep hidden. And a lot of what we're seeing with other people is simply it's a costume or a facade that they're putting on for that moment in time. So I will just come out and say, working with couples, and I don't do a lot of work with couples. One, because I don't necessarily enjoy mediating fights. I'm good at it, but I'd rather do it in a business context to where there's you guys going off and being happy together is one thing, but me knowing that a big paycheck is coming from a negotiation, that's an even bigger reward for me. I say this, if anything ever happened to April and I found myself single again, dude, I don't know that I could get remarried. I don't know that I could get back involved with somebody else because I'm too lazy. The honeymoon part is fun, right? Oh, this is so good. Oh, you look so nice. But then establishing a relationship just is so exhausting because you have to talk. It's exhausting. And what I like now is that I can come home and I can sit around in my boxer shorts. I can, I can pee with the door open. All of those kind of things that I don't want to have to take and put on a show for somebody else. And yes, I still try to impress April. I still try to impress her, just not with those silly things. I'm trying to impress her on a deeper level. Because we're past all that stuff. I mean, come on. She's had a couple kids. I mean, I was close to 300 effing pounds with it 10 years ago. I was huge. So, I was bigger than her. You take both of the times she was pregnant, I was a much bigger fat ass than her if you took both of her pregnancies, put them together. So, I don't have to take and put on, Look, I work out because I like working out. It's not to impress her. right? So there's a level of enjoyment that comes from getting to know one another. And honestly, when you can focus on those things, it's like I don't really care what other people say to me, like as far as, oh, you're so good looking. Like, fuck you. I know I'm good looking. Like, come on, that goes without saying. Right?
Say something not obvious, man. That's obvious. Come on.
So
Okay,
I think that there's a lot of advantages
that's
to the internet. Go ahead.
So that's an absolute touche from me. You know what? It's not about laziness, man. It's too late in life to win another girl over, to convince her that, you know, it's going to work, to deal, not just putting on a show. I'm also sick and tired of cutting through their show.
Sure.
You know what?
Absolutely.
They're also, as you meet a new person, she's also, or he's also putting up a show. So the other person's also, it's all facade, and you have to cut through the bullshit. And, you know, it's taken us years to cut through this bullshit.
Right.
Do you really want to do this crap again? Bloody chainsaw and sledgehammers and breaking down the walls?
Yeah, no.
You know what? I don't want to play that game again. So yes. So in your existing relationship, may not be 100%, but you know, even if it is 70%, it's pretty good, I say, because the chances of going into a new one, breaking down the bloody walls, and you might find it's not even 70.
Right.
So you know what? Be happy with your 70 and make, like Dennis just said, find someone new, fine. But you know what? Work on your existing relationships, right?
Work on your existing
there's
relationship.
more fruit there.
Because
There's
absolutely.
more fruit there.
The grass is always greenest where you water it.
I mean, your existing tree is rock solid, it's standing. Sure, you've got some bugs and you've got some fatigue and you've got some decay, but you know what? Fix that fatigue and decay. Work together. Of course, there may be situations where it is a disaster and you need to get out. That's a different discussion. We're speaking generally.
We're just
under
talking normal
circumstances.
stuff, not.
Your existing relationship is not cases where things are screwed up. Under normal circumstances, work on that fatigue, work on that decay, get rid of it. You know what? Do some repair work and make that work, because this is a fruit-bearing tree.
Yes.
Don't cut that and put a new sapling in there. You know what? That's my take, man. So have a look at some comments, man.
Yeah, absolutely. We got some good stuff coming in. In fact, question here. Let's just go ahead and check this one out, because this one's kind of wanting an answer. Question here. Why does one do it in the first place? What is the need? What I guess, Nabahat, what is, I guess I'm not understanding your question. So it's not trying to ignore you. Why does one do this? Why does one do what?
It must have come when we were talking. I think what she's referring to is that why do you even start a conversation with a new person?
Because it's exciting and it's
I'm
fun.
assuming that's the question, so I'll answer it. Thank you. At times you're dissatisfied, discontent in your existing situation, and you're looking for something to hang on to. And otherwise, as you, like Dennis said, it's just a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, and I don't even
Novelty.
I don't think that it necessarily means that you're unhappy with your relationship. You could like reach out to somebody and start an IM conversation just because you're unhappy with your day. I mean, it has nothing to do with your relationship necessarily. I think sometimes we just engage because we need some excitement, we need some fun, we need something a little bit different. So, I don't know. I think people do it for all different reasons. I don't think there's any one.
Or at times. No, also at times an innocent encounter, you see somebody's picture, you make a comment, and starts a conversation, and one thing can lead to another. So even if there was no intent, it can become a conversation and a connect.
Yes. And I just want to say, why all Desi's talk with their hands, just wondering, discussions goodbye. Thank you for saying that. I don't know why Desi's talk with their hands. I talk with my hands because I'm just that fabulous.
I think she's referring to me because I'm quite animated.
I am too, and I am that way.
We're both animated.
I am fabulous. So there it is. I use my hands a lot of times for points of reference. So absolutely, yeah, points of emphasis.
Because we believe in what we're saying, we're passionate, and we get into the conversation. We can't stick like sullen, sorry idiots. All right, man. What else?
Randall, hey Randall, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you for interacting, and I wish I would have seen this a little bit sooner when we open this. But thank you so much. Yeah, our relationships are very important, and it's. I want to just say the internet doesn't take and break people's marriages, people's wandering, people's discontent. People always thinking the grass is greener somewhere else. That's the reason. The internet has just become an easy tool to use. So.
Absolutely.
So does that answer your question, Rafia? It's just that the internet has become a tool. It brings us closer together. But like with everything in life, there are pros and cons. Yeah, I like this. If you think you have options when you were never really in a relationship, if you're truly in a relationship, then the internet can do nothing. There you go. You're fun. I don't know how
as
old you
always,
are, but
man.
that's that is definitely a slice of wisdom. So if anybody watching, please take your Fawn's slice of wisdom there and implement that. It is very, very good. This is an interesting question. Could a reason for the internet damaging relationship also how people don't get a moral education while learning how to use the internet? Perhaps I don't know. That's Arham, that's not anything I had ever really considered. I don't know that it's the internet's job. Again, I look at the internet, I look at social media, I look at all of that as a tool. Morals, values, and so forth usually comes from, our communities, our parents, our siblings. We get those values instilled in us, and then we have to take and tweak them as we go. So remember, the internet is a tool. We can use it for good. We can use it for evil. The same as we can a police force, right? Police force can be used for good. It can be used for evil. Same with religion.
And I think morality is an overused word these days. It's just used very loosely, very carelessly, and it's used as a word to pressurize and bully people. You know what? My morality and your morality is yours and mine's mine.
Absolutely. I like this from Kushbu, our good friend. Thank you, Kushbu. A false image showing you're a happy couple, but in reality you're not, and people expect spouse to be like others, and then yes, it can be. Yeah, absolutely. This comes down to this compare and contrast that we as humans, for some reason, just really like to engage in. I don't understand why we do this so much, but what I look at this as like, hey, it does happen. We need to acknowledge that we're always looking for the greener grass. And again, we look at the green grass as though it's somehow easy. People look at April and I, and they're like, oh, I want to have the communication that you guys have. Well, put 30 years in. There is no substitute for effort. I will not say that a marriage or a relationship is hard work. It takes effort. I personally don't say it's hard work because, I've been open about this too. I don't particularly like working. So I'm not going to want to work with somebody that I love. I don't mind putting in effort though. So words matter. Think about the words that you use.
Another comment I'm going to take right here because connected. Stephanie comes out and says also internet portrays marriages that they're supposed to be perfect, but all marriages go through hard times in life. So that also has a huge factor in why it destroys marriages too.
Yeah, and I'll say, Stephanie, I think one of the things that's really cool is just that, like you learn to love the messiness, right? I mean, we look at, we want everything to be neat and tidy, and like all this romance and this is happening. And it's there's a reason romantic comedies are movies and television shows, because they're not reality. Even reality TV is scripted. Right? So, and they give them talking points and everything else. Stephanie, outstanding. Yeah, I think it comes back to this compare and contrast. Truly, I see that happy couples, they've learned to laugh about their messiness. So that's what I encourage you to do, Stephanie. Thank you for joining in. Kushbu, listen, I agree. Spouses need to remember to communicate with each other as well. Sure, absolutely. But I'm going to say I happen to know a couple, and I'm not saying that this is the standard, or there's a lot of people. I do know probably a handful of couples. It was very strange. April and we went over to their house one time, and this one couple, and they're literally sitting there the whole time. They're just typing on their phones. And I'm probably like, you guys understand we're all here. Oh, well, we're just talking to each other. I'm like, yeah, but like, what do you mean you're talking to each other? That's what they did. That's how these couples communicate. They go online and they chit chat, and they like go on dates. They find each other on Tinder. So I'm just saying, like, it's not anything. I don't understand it, but that doesn't mean it's wrong.
Hey, if that gets the bed shaking, why not, man?
Right.
Whatever works.
Using it as a booty call. Yeah, you know what? Booty calls come. I mean, we can do that. I mean, there's always ways to find that. I mean, that's not booty calls are pretty easy if that's what you're looking for. If sex is what you're looking for, then you know that's not that difficult to find. Show the best behavior. Yeah. You see anything else, FQ? Oh, here. Let's check this out. Is forming a relationship on the internet cheating when it is virtual reality and not actual reality? I think that's up to the recipient. I think that's up to your partner. And I think it's up to I think it depends on your intent. I mean, a lot of times people will cheat and just have many reasons. Well, I only cheated, you know, I've worked with couples too long. And it's just, oh, I only cheated because they weren't giving me sex. Well, what do you mean they weren't giving it to you? Like, it just doesn't give you the right to go do something that's not correct anyway. So is it cheating in a virtual? I would say it can be. Doesn't have to be, but it certainly can be.
Too many variables.
Depends
Too many
on what you're
variables. You have
looking
to
do.
see your situation.
Yeah.
Hey, and not all conversation leads to dating. There you go, Khushbu.
There you go too. Yeah, that's Khushbu. I really like that. Thank you. Yeah, I think when we take that out of things, when we take, men and women can communicate without trying to date one another. I mean, that really can happen. Irfan.
Okay.
Yeah, if you have to stalk someone, then you might as well walk away. Irfan, here's the deal, man.
No.
I don't have the
No, man, you gotta
patience
stalk
to
everyone.
stalk anybody.
You got to stalk it. No, but you got to stalk everyone. Okay, last comment.
Yeah. Sorry.
This one. I met someone on Snapchat where we're sexting for 3 years, but decided to recently end because I felt that relationship was not. I don't want to even know where you wanted the relationship to go.
Rafi, I don't know that so here's the thing. I don't know that I've ever sexted with anybody. I think I don't know how.
Oh, come on. Oh, come on. Oh, come on.
It
Don't
just
be
feels
such
so
a prude,
silly
man.
to me. Like, why are we talking about this? I don't know. I think, listen, I mean, working
now
with
you're being
couples,
judgmental about something you've never tried,
I'm
man.
not being
now you're being
judgmental at all.
about
I'm
something
saying
you've never tried.
I don't
man.
understand it. There's no judgment in there because I know people that, and this is what I was going to say. I know people that will tell you they are in a committed relationship.
That was a condescending tone.
Negative ghost writer. What it is I know people that are in these types of relationships, and that's all it is virtual. And you know what? They seem very, very happy. So you know what? The internet's great because people can redefine. They can redefine how their relationship is. I mean, you think about it. Maybe people have never met. FQ, you and I have never met. And yet we have a successful broadcast here. So if we can do this, I think people can have a successful relationship. I think that we always think that like sex and procreation and holding hands and all that stuff has to come into play. But I mean, think about it. There's plenty of people that enter into a relationship that are paralyzed from the neck down. They're not having sex. I mean, possibly with the advancements in medical technology, But I'm just saying that doesn't necessarily have to be a big part of the process. So I think it's great. I think the internet is awesome. I think it's done. I think it can be used as a marriage and a relationship enhancement tool. I think it allows us to meet new people. Look, if you want to cheat, you don't need the internet. If you want to be a douchebag, you don't need the internet. You can just go do that on your own. The internet's there to be used how we choose to use it.
Quickly, before we go, girls need a room. I'm just kidding.
Stop it.
Okay, before we go, I want to plug in a song, the Pina Colada song.
Yes.
All people in relationships need to listen to this song. It's called the Pina Colada song by Rupert Holmes. I really urge everyone who's in any kind of a relationship to go and watch this video and listen to the song. Dennis, you know the song, obviously, right?
Of course. Oh, Rupert, he's the best. You know, if you like pina coladas and getting lost in the rain. I mean, there you go. Or getting caught in the rain. Yeah, it's a great song. Excellent little blast from the past. And see, I'm just gonna take this. Thank you, Rafia. That's where that's directed.
God forbid I would judge.
I'm
happy for you, girl.
FQ says I'm judging doesn't mean I am. Thank you, Rafia. He's the one judging.
All right, guys.
All right. Hey, thank you so much.
Have a good weekend.
Have an excellent weekend.
Thanks,
stay safe, stay healthy, and stay blessed.
Good night.